Welcome to the Wrestlers Wrestling Show, and today I'm joined by Moth Martina.
Hey.
So, my first question, I suppose, is you've essentially built a brand on social media, which has given you a lot of exposure, which has been able to enable you, I suppose, to travel the world. Like, how did you build such a following, and what's the kind of important steps that people can do to build a following on social media? Because it is really important these days.
Yeah, I actually find a lot of my like most popular posts and stuff on Twitter come from like not even talking about wrestling, or maybe even just touching on wrestling. I use Twitter as kind of just to have a joke and have a laugh, because I find like every time you go on Twitter, most of the time you see something negative, or you just see the same match graphics and stuff like that, and people kind of don't care about that anymore.
Yeah.
So people like to, I think fans especially like to interact, so I interact a lot with fans, just like have a joke. Everything I put on Twitter is like complete character. Like, I don't post like about what Karen had for dinner. I post like what Martina drank last night or how hungover she is. I keep everything like on that
Kind of
gimmick based, definitely gimmick based. Like, it's not personal at all, and it's all a joke, like nothing serious on it. So I've kind of maintained that, so nobody takes anything what I say too seriously. So it's like you don't say anything like stupid or anything like that, you just kind of use it as just a fun means. And I find people have kind of like, it's built my brand. Like when I did the whole John Cena following me thing, I just randomly went in this crusade to get John Cena to follow me, and I think I got like 2,000 followers in like a week, 2 weeks. Like, my followers just kind of kept jumping, and the more I did like the whole Bants thing, like grinding on random WWE guys, or the most random people I can think of, like people just find it shocking and funny, so it kind of, that person retweets it, and then that person retweets it, or somebody tags somebody to see this, and it's kind of built from that. Because I find like match graphics, like people are happy to see you when they go see you wrestle, and especially if you get a funny gift from your matches and stuff like that, so you can keep wrestling in it. But I do find just kind of having a different approach.
Yeah.
It's not what everyone sees all the time, so people enjoy following your Twitter account for that.
Yeah, but you've been able to travel essentially the world. Like, so you went to Japan, you've wrestled there, you've went to the States, you even went to Australia. Like, how important do you think, I suppose, your social media was in making that happen? Do you think it was the fact that your social media, that's how you had people from promoters wanting to bring you into all these countries, or how important has it been to you?
Well, yeah, I think it's been, I put the majority of my success down to my Twitter, because like I remember the first time going to America, passing 10k followers. Like, I remember I landed in America, I was like, oh, I got 10k followers, and that was only 30.2k.
That's more than even some of the WWE guys.
That's shocking. Like, it's shocking, and like that's the thing. It's like, I feel like because you do these jokes and stuff on Twitter, and you kind of find yourself like getting like good tweets out there and stuff like that, more people see you, more people hear about you. So then when I went to places and stuff, people are like, oh, they know who I am, and I'm still kind of shocked at it. I'm like, how do you know who I am? But it turns out it's just kind of, it's been like an effect, it's a flow. Yeah. Everything, like, you do a tweet, people see you on Twitter. I know people I've never met on Twitter, but they're doing stuff on Twitter at the moment, and I'm like, oh, I'm noticing them. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I feel like a lot of wrestling these days is actually kind of Twitter success. That's how you know someone's popular at the moment, because people are talking about them.
Do you still focus on Twitter, or is it more Instagram now, or vice versa, or is it equally as important?
I'm definitely a Twitter person, but that's because a lot of people aren't, though. I'm a Twitter person, though, because I like to have, as I said, like, I like to interact with people, kind of put jokes up and videos and stuff like that, where Instagram I find is just kind of more for pictures. But some people are very, very Instagram based. Like, a lot of people follow I have more followers on Instagram, but I don't really count that as much. I'd be a Twitter person just because I like the interactions.
Okay. And then, like, going on to all these countries that you've seen, I always took it as a kind of privilege when I was wrestling to be able to go to these different countries and to have your flights paid and stuff like that. The travel, I suppose, I remember some of your schedule was like, the States and then Australia and Japan and stuff all the same year, and it's just like kind of crazy. Like, how do you deal, especially as well, you work so much in the UK, how do you deal with just traveling so much?
Well, I think you really, really have to dedicate yourself to it. Like, if you're gonna go, you're gonna go full throttle. Like, you kind of have to just accept that you're not gonna be home on the weekends. Like, most people in like Ireland, let's say, they work 9 to 5 Monday to Friday, and they have their weekends off to see their friends. You're total opposite of that. Yeah. Like, especially being full time, you have your week to kind of, if you want to do something social, or if you all that kind of stuff. You have to just accept you're not going to see your friends on the weekend. Like, it's a very rare you have a weekend off. I think last year I counted I had about 2, maybe 3 weekends off, and that was where I get to see my friend that's like an accountant, so I never see her during the week, stuff like that, you know what I mean? So you just have to, if you want it, it's just kind of something you have to accept. It's part of the game because it's a weekend business, but at the same time I'm lucky because wrestling, because I've been like lucky enough to like travel for about 3 years now constantly. I've made my social circles in wrestling, so it's like if you're going to a show, you'll see your friends there, you'll have a good time at that. So you're not dreading it. It's not like you're going to work. It's not like you're going to be on your own. Obviously, though, I'd say the down part of that would be like a lot of time in airports, just sitting around on your phone. You've nothing to do but just like sit on Twitter, and that's one of the most draining things you can do. Or like you have, you go from doing a show in front of loads of people, and like you're on a high from that. And then next thing you know, you're just alone in a hotel room with no TV. And you might be delays, flight delays, all that kind of stuff. Like, it's a lot of time alone, but at the same time, I do think the benefits are there. Like, if I didn't love it, I wouldn't do it. And I am signing up now to go to America, like, monthly now at Ring of Honor. So I know it's going to be, like, that's a lot of long flights. I remember I did Australia, 2 25-hour flights in a week of each other, which was, wow. I remember my head was scrambled. But, like, at the end of the day, like, it's painful at the time, but you do know it's worth it, because at the end of the day, like, when I'm 60, I'm going to look back and be like, oh, I went to Australia, I went to America, like, all over America every month, you know, Japan. The good thing about Japan, obviously, was, like, I went for longer periods, so you would go and you kind of settle in again, so you get a bit of a break from the flights. I think I counted my flights from last year, I did, like, 95.
That's insane.
Yeah, and it was just, like, a lot of them is, like, layovers and, like, all that kind of stuff, but it is worth it, definitely. Wow. You do need to just like tough it out.
Yeah, you need to just. But I suppose like you as you said, you're making memories to look back on.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like
You're just kind of drained on a Monday. You need a Monday to kind of recoup and just watch Netflix.
I always say as well, like I could be on the side of the road digging a ditch. I mean it's an exciting life. So obviously pro wrestling is very male dominated. As a girl, you would have probably come up in training schools. Maybe only been 1 or 2 other girls, and when you're backstage as well, besides promotions like Eve, like it's again mostly kind of a male dominated kind of space. Like, as a girl, like kind of what advice would you give? Because I think some girls kind of find training schools intimidating, and maybe kind of find doing shows overseas intimidating. And being in locker rooms that are kind of foreign to them. What kind of advice could you give to, I suppose, people who just want to get involved in training?
Yeah. It can be intimidating, but I think everybody's always usually very nice and welcoming. That's what I've always found, like especially in Ireland. Like, I think I started training 9 years ago, and I was the only girl. And I remember, like, at the very start, a lot of the lads, because it was just lads there, they didn't want to like hurt me, because they're like, oh, it's a girl, and they weren't used to having girls around. But like, once I kind of the trainers and stuff would just be like, she's here, it's a contact sport, she's here to do what you want to do, treat equally. And as soon as that happened, it like clicked, and like everybody just started battering me. But that's what made me better. Like, and it's kind of one thing I would say is like you do need to have thick skin.
Yeah. Because
like wrestling can be very draining, like especially the training aspect of it. Like sometimes you're ahead, sometimes you're behind, sometimes like you get in your own head about wrestling, like everybody does. You just have to kind of overcome it and not let it bury you, because you might have a time and think like, oh my god, I'm really bad, I can't do this. But you have to stick it out. And you can't like be emotional when it comes to wrestling either. That would be one thing. Especially like girls can be very emotional just in general. So it's like just about sticking it out and just kind of being that little bit tougher and just kind of just powering through and not letting things get to you. Don't be so sensitive. If somebody, like, trainers are meant to be hard on you, it's good for you, it's what makes you better, but they are going to be hard on you if you're going to get better, and you can't take it to heart. That would be a main thing. And then like going abroad and like mixing in with people, I think it's very important to just be as social as you can be. Like nothing's worse for yourself even than going into a locker room and just sitting in a corner and not talking to anybody. You just go out there and just chat, like the same way you do with the place you're comfortable.
Because I suppose wrestling's all based on perception. You're only as good as someone's perception. So I mean, if you're good backstage and you're a nice person backstage, I
definitely think I've been brought back a few places just because I'd kind of like, not just because hopefully, but like, I'm always like very friendly and like try and like socialize as much as I can. As I said, for me, wrestling, I kind of needed to be a social outlet as well as work. So it's like I always try my best. Like I'm gonna make the most of this night. Like I'm gonna have a good time if I can.
So last question. Female trainees that are just about starting to have their first few matches and they're starting to get on shows, what advice could you give to those girls that are just, they're probably had 3-4 live matches?
I'd probably say I'd say to try and set themselves apart, because one thing I notice like in wrestling all the time, it comes in like waves, like certain moves become fads and like everybody does them. Like I see everybody doing the shibata dropkick for ages, or girls do like the face wipe in the corner, like little things like that, but I see it in one match, and especially on all women's shows, that's when you really have to start thinking, because you like there's so many there and you're not going to just get away with it because you're a girl. You can't think like that. So I would think to really try and set yourself apart, like in any way possible. Gimmick wise, like that's 100% what I did. It was 100% my gimmick that got me off the ground, because it was different and nobody else was doing it.
Yeah.
Like, but I do still try now to try and come up with moves that I don't see on every show, that I don't see everybody do, because it becomes noticeable and the fans notice it. It's like if the first match goes out and does all these drop kicks, and then the next match has drop kicks, and the next match has drop kicks. It's the same for men as well.
Yeah.
Just try and do something a bit different and set yourself apart. Because at the end of the day, on a regular show, there is probably only one women's match, maybe two. You don't want to be doing the same moves as everybody else, because some people are just going to look at it like, oh, girl match 1, girl match 2. So set yourself apart and be different.
Brilliant. Thanks for your time.